Let's talk about that co-main event for as long as it lasted. Tom Aspinall retains his interim title by defeating Curtis Blaydes at 1 minute of round number 1. So this is an interesting one for me. Tom Aspinall has bad defensive habits. I know we don't want to talk about that right now, and I'm not going to make it the focus of what I'm talking about, but he cross steps all the time. He leans back too far all the time. He gets hit a little bit for as long as these fights last, but it just doesn't seem to matter. He is defensively reckless, in my view. He just really plays with fire, but he's able to overcome it and blow the absolute fucking doors off of his competitors because his offense is outrageously dynamic. Two things stood out to me. We did talk about this on Friday's MK. If you go back and you watch the Blaydes and Pavlovich fight, what really stood out to me was Blaydes was tagging Pavlovich over and over again flush. He was landing on him very effectively and very consistently at that. But the problem is it didn't really deter him. Never really got him off, right? He was constantly on top of Curtis, as like just in his face the whole time. Contrast that with what happened with Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall smoked him, blitzed him, went right through him, covered distance, bang, crushed him, right? Got him out of there quick, first round. That told me that there was a pretty big power difference. And not just a power difference. Visibly, you can tell there's a speed difference. Dude, this guy's ability to cover distance, his foot speed and his hand speed combined with his natural athletic power is overwhelming for the rest of that heavyweight division. Quite literally overwhelming. He has been fighting nearly a decade, and he only tonight crossed an accumulative total of 40 minutes of fight time. The guy's been doing this for a decade. A decade. Shocking ability. Shocking power. Shocking speed. And they can't stand up to it. He makes contact with you, bink, and all of a sudden, all these problems start to emerge. And then the flurry begins. Bah, 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 bah. And he can close the show. Guys, I mean, look at these fight times that he's turning in here. 1 minute against Curtis Blaydes. 1 minute, 9 seconds against Sergey Pavlovich. 1 minute, 13 seconds against Marcin Tybura. 3 minutes, 45 seconds, against Volkov. 2.5 minutes against Spivak. Now, Arlovsky took him to the second round, but he polished him off at 1 minute, 9 seconds in there. And then we're talking to his first UFC fights, 45 seconds at 1 minute and 35 seconds. Dude, 2 minutes or less is basically all he needs to just land one clean shot. It rattles these guys' legs, completely makes them go into a, unbalanced state, is putting it kindly, and then he just closes the show. That is it. That is it. The people have attempted. He has 100% takedown defensive rate, but only because they've only ever attempted 2 takedowns on him. Like, there might be other problems with his game. Maybe his cardio fades after 15 minutes. Maybe beyond the striking realm, like his striking falls off after a certain point. Maybe his defensive wrestling is not even that good. We have no idea. We have no idea because once he clubs these guys in the brain, the CTE Express has left the station. I mean, it's just I don't know how you deal with a guy like that, except to do what Curtis Blaydes said he was going to do if they ever fought Poatan, which is come right across the cage and take him down. Dude, I don't know what the game plan is against a guy like that, except don't get hit and take him down immediately. Because in about 60 seconds, he's going to land one of these on you, and the referee is then going to be required to save you after that. There is some question about the quickness of that stoppage, about whether or not Blaydes was building back to his base in order to defend that. You could maybe argue it was a little premature. The problem with that argument is the referee, like if you build your base back up right as he's intervening, or like he's stepping in and then all of a sudden you're starting to get up, it's too little too late at that point. What you have to do is ask yourself, did the referee wait long enough to see that something wasn't happening before intervening? Not, was there a simultaneous referee is stopping while the base is building back up? Because what did not happen is that he was in the middle of building his base back up and then the referee waved it. The referee waved it right as Curtis was doing it. So like maybe Curtis was okay to keep going a little bit. You could certainly argue that, but that's not the same thing as he was actually in the middle of a ongoing process. No, that's not what happened. He was getting bombed on. He wasn't doing anything about it for enough of a stretch where the referee was like, okay, I've seen enough. He's not defending himself. I have to now protect him. I'm not intelligently defending himself. I now have to protect him. That's a fair stoppage under that guideline. So I know what you see. I saw it too. He's kind of getting back to his hands and his feet right as Mark Goddard's sliding on in there. But at that point, it's arguably too little too late. Like the argument is not, do you have to let them keep punching until they lose all consciousness? The point is, does enough time elapse where they're not defending themselves? Has that taken place? And if it has, then you just close the show. So there's not much to break down about this. It was a jab. The right hand actually missed. Curtis Blaydes was coming in. He gets popped with a jab, and that fucking rattled him. Like, this is what I'm talking about. It wasn't even like a home run right hand that came in there. A jab sat him down. Like, just ridiculous that even happened. And so it leads us now to this bigger question. Who is the best heavyweight right now in MMA, and who is the best heavyweight in the UFC? Well, until Jon Jones fights Tom Aspinall, it's strictly a matter of debate. And I know that by title, Jon's title ranks superior to Tom's. But let us be very, 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 very clear about this. Let's not mince words. Let's state it very clearly. Tom Aspinall is far and away the most decorated heavyweight currently competing today in the Ultimate Fighting Championship in terms of their heavyweight campaigns. Tom Aspinall is out here fighting contenders, even after being injured in a devastating way in 2022, is fighting contenders, blowing them out of the water like it's nothing, while Jon Jones has taken an inordinate amount of time. I realize he got injured as well, but the 3 years off, gets the one win against Cyril Gane, who turned in an all-time stinker of a performance, like just totally less than elementary level of takedown defense and proper grappling positions, and is now angling towards a guy who hasn't fought in basically 4 years. And then the last time he did, he got viciously KO'd and is basically retired. Like their heavyweight campaigns are not even comparable. The only thing that makes them in the conversation is that Jon technically has what on paper is a superior title. Well, I'm telling you, in practice, it ain't shit compared to what Tom Aspinall has. On paper, it's not worth. On paper, what Tom has is not worth as much. In practice, it's worth infinitely more, and means infinitely more, and shows infinitely more. So as far as I'm concerned, I realize that Jon by title is the heavyweight champion, but as far as I'm concerned, the best in class and the true champion of this weight class is Tom Aspinall. And it's not even fucking debatable if what we're looking at is what it actually matters, what is actually valuable, what is actually being done, what is being accomplished, who is actually facing down all the monsters in this division. It's fucking Tom Aspinall. It's Tom Aspinall. It's not Jon Jones. And so Jon Jones is doing the Canelo bit here, right? Did you guys see the news about Canelo? I'm sure many of you did. He's going to be fighting Edgar Berlanga on same day as UFC 306. I love I love Canelo. I think highly of him. He is going to be a Hall of Famer. There's really no question about that. He could retire today. He's going to go right into the Hall of Fame. It's been an honor to cover many of his fights, And I might end up going and covering the Berlanga fight. But just speaking realistically, that is not a challenging fight for Canelo. It should not even be for any of those titles. It's a complete gimme. He's going to be a gigantic favorite in that one. You could maybe argue that the fight between Jones and Stipe is a little bit closer, but it looks like the exact same thing. Somebody who probably realizes they still have enough moxie and, in this case, weight class titles to claim a big audience and to be able to claim that what you're doing is fighting, the toughest guys that make sense for you at the stage of the career that you're in. Meanwhile, there's other people in that weight class doing the actual work of amazing shit to see, doing the actual work of fighting their contemporaries, the tough ones, the ones that nobody else do. Nobody wants to fight fucking Sergey Pavlovich and Curtis Blaydes back to back. Tom Aspinall beat them in a combined 2 minutes and 9 seconds. It's not even comparable. It's not even comparable. Tom Aspinall is the best heavyweight right now in the UFC, and he, as far as I'm concerned, is the actual champion holding that spot. So Jon has a choice to make. First of all, he has to beat Stipe. And then after that, he has a choice to make. Is it true that he's going to face Tom Aspinall? In which case, great. We can really see how their skills compare. Or he can go into retirement, because of course, why wouldn't you? You've made a bunch of money. He's, no matter what happens at heavyweight, he's the best light heavyweight ever by a million miles. There could be no question about that. No one can take anything he did away from him at 205, not even a little bit. And I'm not taking anything he's doing from heavyweight from him either. Beating Cyril Gane, even though Cyril did poorly, is worth something. Beating Stipe is not worth much, but hey, it's a nice win for money. But that does not compare even in the slightest to Tom Aspinall's heavyweight run. Not even in the slightest. Tom Aspinall is the most accomplished heavyweight, and he's the true champion of this weight class. Fuck what they say on paper. So either Jon Jones wants to do something about that and face the guy, assuming he gets past Stipe, which would be hilarious if Stipe won. I don't think that's likely, but whatever. I mean, I didn't think Bilal was going to win, so I guess we have to wait and see. But, Bilal was on a win streak and active. Stipe is not. So assuming Jon gets past that, I guess we'll see what he really wants to do. But I get Canelo vibes from him. I get, I've done a lot. Like Canelo, Jon's going to go right into the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? If he retired today, he's going to go right into the Hall of Fame. And deservedly. He should. Like, obviously, he's an enormously accomplished fighter over the course of his career. But what is happening at heavyweight is a fucking disgrace. It's been a waste of everyone's time. What happens in November is again, MMA is crazy, but in all likelihood feels like a waste of everyone's time. And what should be happening in November is, if I'm Tom Aspinall, man, I tell you what, if I'm Tom Aspinall, I don't know if I want to be like your official backup fighter. I don't know if I would want to do that, but I'd be ready. I'd be ready in November just in case. You never know how you might slot in. Hell, even if Jones falls out, he could then go fight Stipe. Oh my God, can you imagine the horror he would do to Stipe? Stipe is probably very slow and not very mobile at this point. You think a guy like Aspinall is going to miss on him? Jesus, he would probably do terrible things to him. So here we are. Tom Aspinall, best in class by a million miles. He's the guy out there doing all the work that no one else wants to do and that nobody else can do. It's seemingly up to this point. He's the one that deserves your. It's not that Jon doesn't deserve admiration as a fighter. Of course he does. But as a heavyweight champion, the number one guy is Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall is that guy. But as I said, last thing on this, and we'll move along, some defensive issues with him. It's just, can you have defensive issues if your offense is just nuclear power potent? Turns out, yeah, you can do that no problem. Turns out you can do it no problem at the heavyweight division. Incredible. Ridiculous what this guy's able to do. Totally absurd.